All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper pre-party show. I am broadcasting to you live from dystopia. Actually, this was probably what Washington, D.C. looked like just a few weeks ago before the big cleanup started. So, while you were distracted by Sydney Sweeney's assets, Venezuela has a fleet of U.S. warship parked outside its borders. Did you know that? Did you know that? While you were distracted by Cracker Barrel's logo failure, our president banned, in an executive order, flag burning. Did you know that? While you were distracted by Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's engagement, there was another mass shooting at a school. And unfortunately, I can't talk about that too much because I'm already kind of on thin ice with YouTube. I will just briefly touch on that at the end. Stay with me. Folks, there's a lot going on in the country, and pop culture seems to dominate despite that. I mean, we've got other things going on. We have India had tariffs raised. Most people probably weren't aware of that or what the implications of that are for the United States. And it's huge, folks, let me tell you. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Venezuela situation. We're going to talk about the flag burning situation. We're going to talk about Cracker Barrel because that seems to be important to people. We're going to talk about Sydney Sweeney's fantastic jeans. And we are going to talk about T Swift and Travis Kelce, something I thought I'd never do on this channel, but yet here we are. Folks, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. You all know the rules here. No racism, no sexism. Please be kind to your moderators. And if you could disagree with me, that's fine. Just please articulate your point. Let me know why you disagree. Don't just say, Sarge, you're stupid. Tell me why you disagree with what I'm saying. If you don't articulate it well, or if you're racist or sexist, your comment's probably going to get deleted, okay? As always, this... we have some sponsors. I'm sorry, we have some brands in the description down below. Please check those out. It's one of the great ways you can help to support my channel. My last live stream got demonetized, and I had to fight it. Eventually, it did get remonetized, but as you guys know who create content, all of your views come in the first 72 hours, or most of your views. So basically, I made, other than the super chats, which I really appreciate those, I made no ad revenue last time, or almost no ad revenue last time. All right, I got a couple things here to throw up. Let me find it. There we go. All right, as per the last few videos here, this video is, of course, sponsored by my good friends at ABMEX. ABMEX is in the final days of the 25th anniversary sale. So if you've been sitting on an opportunity to get you some gold and silver, this is as good of a time as it's going to be for you. There's been some fantastic deals. I ordered some gold, actually, in a little tiny bit of silver. I'm going to do a video once it's all here. I've been ordering a little bit over the course of the last 4 weeks with all the sales that have been going on. We'll do some unboxings and talk about that. But ABMEX is my choice for gold and silver, which I do believe is an important prep for numerous reasons. If you don't understand why gold and silver might be a useful prep for prepper, I encourage you to go back and watch the video that I did not too long ago. It's title basically, you can't eat gold, which was my answer to people who say you can't eat gold. I basically point for point dismantle all the arguments that people have about why they don't want to have gold as part of their preps. Okay, so check out that video, and more importantly, check out ABMEX. I've got the link scrolling down below, and it's also in the description. And tell them Sarge sent you. It's one of the ways that you can help support the channel. They've been a great sponsor, and I really appreciate all they've done to keep my content coming to you. So thank you so much, ABMEX. All right, let's go ahead, and I know there's been a bunch of people in chat. Let's go ahead and say hi to everybody in chat, and then let's get this thing rolling. Let's scroll back here. I saw a bunch of people coming in early. Scott, once again, you beat everybody to the punch. Thank you so much for being the first one in chat. And I think Sassy Gal Prepping was next. Yep, Sassy Gal Prepping, thank you so much. Southern Tier Prepper, it's good to see you. Prepper for the Ages, how are you doing tonight? Let's see, who else came in? I think I saw Steve is driving. Thank you so much for checking in. Appreciate you. Scrolling. Rural 2IC, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I'm glad you guys liked the thumbnail. We'll see. I may end up having to take that one down. We'll see what the great internet gods say about that one, but I had fun making that one for sure. Lazarus Long, appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. All right. Virginia Bushcrafter. Yeah, that's how they're doing it lately. In fact, I've heard horror stories of channels being completely demonetized recently, and some channels losing their channel altogether with no warning. YouTube seems to be on a really heavy censorship kick, which is unfortunate. If I ever am disappeared from this platform, find me on Twitter X, which is one of the last bastions for free speech on the internet, until they somehow figure out how to take that one down. So you can find me on there. I'm on Instagram as well, but Instagram's even worse with the censorship than YouTube, if you can believe that. Virginia Bushcraft, thank you so much for joining me. Kane Corso, it's good to see you. Thank you. All right. Vision, how are you doing tonight? Hey, so if you guys didn't see it, I was a guest on Vision Preparedness's stream last night. We were talking about PTSD during SHTF. Make sure you check that out. We had a great stream, put out some really important content there. And I was also on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? No, Tuesday. I'm sorry. I was on the Four Horsemen's podcast on Mike's channel, Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. We had a great time over there. Check that one out as well. Orlando Prepper, I hope you are doing better, man. I know you've been sick. I appreciate you checking in. I hope you're feeling better. All right, just scroll on to see if I missed anybody. It's good to see everybody tonight. Oh, Rural, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Scruffy Scrubs, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Burpee Yoga Uncle, how are you doing? Yeah, man. It's stupid is as stupid does. You got that right. We're going to talk about some of that stuff. I might get yes. Make sure you guys check out Sassy Gal Prepping had a video go semi-viral talking about strawberries in the supermarket. Make sure you guys check that out. Check out the comments, and then check out her response to the comments. She did a great job. All right, you're welcome. I appreciate that. Yeah, we had a good time the other night, Trent. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to jump off this screen and go to my notes, and I will check back with you in just a minute, folks. All right, let's start with the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift thing. So a couple personal thoughts. First of all, I really did not like Travis Kelce until I recently saw him in Happy Gilmore 2, and he was really funny. And now I'm finding it hard to hate this guy. Even though, like, I don't, I'm not a Chiefs fan or anything like that. I'm a Patriots fan. Even though they're in like dark times right now, and they've been doing terrible the last few years. If you are a true fan, you stick with your team even through the hard times. So I'm a Patriots fan, not a Chiefs fan. Never liked Travis Kelce, but I have to say he kind of won me over a little bit in Happy Gilmore too, because he was really funny. So I'm very happy for them. I'm not a huge T Swift fan, but she's got some songs that are good. I like Anti-Hero. It's got a great mental health message, if you know that song, Anti-Hero. And I like some of her older, like the more country stuff that she did before she got a little bit more into like the pop stuff. I like some of that stuff. But here's what happened. Talk about bread and circuses, folks. Within 6 hours, Instagram had 1 million reposts. 1 million reposts of the announcement. 14 million likes in the first hour, and now over 30 million likes. Meta confirmed it was one of the most shared posts in Instagram history. It actually caused some problems for them, some outages. So they literally, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift broke the internet. Taylor's appearance on Travis's New Heights podcast drew 1.3 million concurrent YouTube viewers, breaking a Guinness World Record. Within 72 hours, 379 million views on Instagram, 61.6 million views on Twitter X, 34.5 million views on TikTok. Wow, that's kind of interesting. The TikTok was not near the highest. Wow. And 15 million views on YouTube. That's really interesting data. I might dig into that on some other stuff later on. Folks, if you don't doubt the power of Taylor Swift, like, just her ability to influence pop culture, and she's huge. Like, it's Travis Kelce has tons of fans too. It's unbelievable. So Swift's song "So High School" saw a 400% spike in Spotify streams. Influencer buzz. Yeah, we'll skip that. Basically, the influencers that covered this, of course, did really well. They got a lot of clicks and likes and all that kind of stuff. It actually affected the stock market in that people wanted to know, like, where the diamond ring came from. It is, if you want to know, it's a $500,000 ring with a 10-carat antique cushion diamond designed by Kendrick Lubeck, a boutique dealer. Yeah, interesting. Okay, and then cool. All right, Cracker Barrel. Let's talk about this one. Now, here's my thoughts. Again, I'm going to give you my personal opinion on this. After we talk about Cracker Barrel, I'll come back to chat and check out what you all are saying. I haven't eaten in Cracker Barrel in about 14, 15 years, maybe. I don't hate Cracker Barrel. It just never, to me, was like, ooh, Cracker Barrel, I gotta get me some Cracker Barrel. You know, their pancakes are really good. Are they the best pancakes I ever had? No. They're really good, though. Their gift shop was cute. Overpriced, but cute. Okay. And, you know, it wasn't a bad experience. I never would say, like, I didn't like Cracker Barrel. It was just never something I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to go back to Cracker Barrel again. Okay. So I'm not necessarily the person that's targeted by this, is what I'm saying, or affected by it in any way, shape, or form. When I saw the logo, at first I heard about this and I'm like, why? What's the big deal? I don't understand why people are flipping the flip out about this. It doesn't make any sense to me why people are so overly invested in a Cracker Barrel logo when they don't even know that we are have a military force threatening Venezuela right now. That's what's funny for me. I think the new logo was really ugly, but I didn't get how it was quote unquote woke. I don't see how it was somehow so offensive to people, but let's look at the cost of this, because whether or not I saw it as woke, other people did. And there is an expression in retail, which is basically, you guys know, go get woke, go broke. And for the most part, it's true. There's been a few exceptions. Nike did fairly well with their Colin Kaepernick stuff. But for the most part, go woke, go broke. It is true. It usually is a brand killer. Okay, it usually does. Like Budweiser lost millions and millions of dollars. So let's take a look at how this affected Cracker Barrel. Let's see. Cracker Barrel's logo redesign turned into a full-blown corporate crisis, and the internet had receipts. Here's the breakdown. What happened? The new logo dropped on August 18th as part of a broader rebranding campaign called All the More. Within hours, conservative influencers and fans accused the brand of abandoning its heritage and going quote-unquote woke. Donald Trump weighed in, urging the company to revert to the old logo. Cracker Barrel's apology post on Facebook and X received millions of views, with tens of thousands of comments calling for a reversal. The company scrapped the new logo just 8 days later, reinstating the old-timer image. Cracker Barrel lost nearly $200 million in market value at its lowest point following the backlash. So, if there's a lesson to be taken out of this, is that our community, I'm not saying our community, the community is extremely powerful at demanding what you want from a company. Now, I have no stakes in this game at all. Like, I honestly don't care what Cracker Barrel does. I really don't. But a lot of people did. And if you had asked me this question a couple of years ago, I probably would have said there's no point to boycotts, you know, things like that. They, for the most part, they haven't been effective, right? People boycotted Twitter X. Twitter X is actually gaining people back, people that left for Threads or Blue Sky, because guess what they found out? Blue Sky and Threads were echo chambers, and that's not fun, right? Why do people go on Twitter X? Well, it's a debate forum for social media. Probably the best place for that. But you got to have thick skin, right? People have attacked me on there, and I've given it right back to people. If you're going to be on Twitter X, just know that it's the wild, wild west, And if you put out your opinion on something, expect that there's going to be somebody who attacks it. So if you're not into that, fine. It's probably not the right platform for you, but clearly a lot of people are into it because they're coming back in droves from these little echo chamber platforms that tried to replace them, like Blue Sky and Threads. All right, so Cracker Barrel lost nearly 200 million in market value. Shares fell 7.2% in a single day. That's a pretty good drop. You guys know I do some stock trading myself. Anything over 4% in a day is considered pretty substantial. In fact, when I'm doing swing trades, I usually look for a 4% movement, right? So if I make a 4% profit on a move, that's pretty good for me. I'll usually take that money and run. 4% drop, I might buy more. So 4% is kind of my, gauge of like, is this a big day for loss or gains either way? So the stock price went from 59.02 to 50.27 in a single day, and it has since recovered a little bit to 54.8. So it's recovered roughly half of its losses. Even after the reversal, the stock remains volatile, with a brief 4 to 6 point rebound after the old logo was reinstated. As of now, no public reports confirm that the marketing director was fired. So I wanted to cover that part of it. There was a guy on Twitter X claiming to be the marketing director and said that he was fired. That was a hoax. We have no official confirmation that the marketing director was fired. The rebrand was part of a $700 million transformation plan under CEO Julie Feiss-Massino, who has remained in her role. She cost her agency $700 million just in the marketing campaign alone. $700 million, and then a $200 million loss in market value. And somehow she still has her job. It is amazing to me that people at the corporate level can fail upwards. If you lost your company $500, they would fire you on the spot, right? But when you're a CEO named Julie Feiss-Massino, you can lose your company $900 million in basically a week and get to keep your job. This is bananas, folks. Someone make that make sense to me in the chat. I'll come back to you in a second. Critics have called the redesign a fiasco. Well, I'd say it's more than a fiasco. This is probably the biggest marketing blunder of all time. Let me come back to that in 1 second. But Cracker Barrel has not announced any leadership changes tied directly to the logo debacle. Why not? Why is nobody being held accountable? Why is nobody being held accountable? Again, if you lost your $500 for your corporation, you would be fired. I promise you, most of you would be fired. Unless you're somehow protected by a union, you would be fired. This saga is a textbook case of how emotionally attached customers are to brand identity. Yes, that's true. And how fast things can spiral when nostalgia meets modern marketing. All right, so let's pause there. The Cracker Barrel thing is very, very interesting. It really is. I still to this day don't understand how it was woke, and I don't understand why people got so outraged over it. But wow, what a marketing blunder. And I guess my biggest question for people out there in corporate marketing is, do you bother to do any market research? Do you bother to poll your paying customer base? I am not Cracker Barrel's paying customer base. I haven't been in your place in 14 years, but you have people who go there every week, loyal customers. Why wouldn't you have done a little market research and ask them before you invest $700 million in a transformation plan? And if you don't think that was somehow a wise idea to go ahead and plunge $700 million into developing this new campaign without doing that research, I'm not sure you deserve to be CEO. And I'm not sure you deserve to be the head of marketing. I have questions. That's what's more interesting to me than this whole ugly logo thing. It's make it make sense, chat. All right, let's go over to you guys. Let's see what you all are saying. I got more. Folks, this week has been bonkers. All right, got to scroll up to see what you're saying. Here we go. Where did I leave off? Aloha all. Yep. Okay. I might have gone too far. There we go. Patriots playing yeah, Vanessa, you're right. The Patriots are in rough times right now, but I'm going to stick with them. Swifties are hardcore, right? You want to talk about people who are loyal to their idol, right? Or to their hero. The Swifty army is hardcore, folks. In fact, I've got a friend, you guys know, I've talked about her before. Ray's way overdoing it. She's got she started around the same time as I did, but she's got like I think 1 million followers now, and I still can a little bit chat with her, and she's been a good friend to me and my channel and whatnot. She does a lot of impersonations, including a Taylor Swift impersonation, and you should see the hate and the threats that she gets for daring to make fun of Taylor Swift. How dare you? And it's all just in joke, but the Swifty army, don't mess with them, folks. These people are hardcore. I'm not even joking. Thank you, Vision. Yeah, if you guys could, if you got anything of entertainment out of this one, give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're just tuning in, make sure you check in the description below for some discount codes that I think you'll like. What's so special about that? You know, I don't know. Her music's good. It's not my usual cup of tea, right? Like I'm not a Swiftie, but there are songs I can say like, yeah, they're good. They're good melodies. Whether she wrote them or not, I don't know. I assume she did. But I'll say this for Taylor Swift. The footage that I've seen of her concerts and stuff, she is an entertainer. And I don't think anybody could deny that. She knows how to entertain her fans. She does a phenomenal job with that. Gronk or Kelce. Gronk or Kittle over Kelce. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately Gronk's retired, but Gronk was my guy, dude. I don't keep up with Taylor Swift. That's okay. Any bets on divorce day? Well, I don't know. I'll say this. I didn't think they were going to make it this far. I was one of those people that was saying, oh, they'll be broken up after that Super Bowl, you know. So I didn't think they would make it this far. They've beaten the odds. So, you know, I wish them the best of luck. I really do. Our engagement announcement 15 years ago. It's a big deal. Yes. Yep. She's a billionaire, so why not a $1 billion ring? I don't know. Last time I was at TV. Oh, Cracker Barrel. Okay. Last time I was at Cracker Barrel, the food was bland and the place was very dirty. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's been a long time for me, so I don't know what condition they've been in. I ate there 2 months ago. Our Cracker Barrel is very nice, says Sassy. They got rid of the grilled Reuben. I've not been back since. All right. So see, that's the thing is like if there's popular items that you know your loyal paying fan base, your core customer base likes, don't screw with the formula. Like, why would you do that? Why would you know? This is the big problem that Star Wars and Marvel have had, right? Like that they had a formula that works. And I get that, okay, you want to experiment and try some new things, but you push too fast, too far, and your customers are going to rebel against this. This is exactly what's happened with Marvel and Star Wars. Haven't been to Cracker Barrel in years. Sounds like you guys got some good food going. I love that. That's a great question, Rural. I am not prepared to discuss that tonight. I did bring it up. I have a couple. Let me say. I want to be careful how I say this. I have a couple people that, just like I believe every prepper channel does, like that we have our sources for information. And unfortunately, one of my really good sources has it's not accessible to me anymore. And I know that there's stuff going on in Greenland. I'm not in any way prepared enough to talk about that, but I hope somebody in the community does, because I think that we should be aware of what's happening there too. So maybe I don't know if you're going to cover that or something, but that's a topic I would like to know a little bit more about as well. When you see something like that, Kane, a lot of times they're not from your area. Now, I don't know exactly what was going on there, but we've had that here, and when that's happened here, most of the protesters were not from our city. In fact, I'll tell you one thing that was really funny was there was some protest a couple of years ago outside McDonald's for like, we want fair wages, we want a what do they call it, living wage, and you know, they had people in McDonald's uniforms out like picketing the street, whatever. So this would happen to be a place where I would stop and get a cup of coffee and work on some of my, returning calls and stuff like that. I used to do community outreach. So I went up to the counter, ordered my coffee, and I said, hey, I saw your employees outside, and the clerk says, those aren't our employees. They don't work here. We don't know who any of those people are. They just showed up this morning and started picketing. Think about that. The next time the news says like hundreds of people are gathered in your city, blah, 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 protesting XYZ, there's a really good chance that none of them are from your area. Some of these people are paid to travel around and do these things. In fact, there's been some great channels that have exposed this and like done like facial recognition, and you could see the same faces at some of these events over and over and over again. We know who's paying them, folks. It's you know what? I'm gonna skip it. I got enough controversy going on this one. Let me know how that works out for you, Kane. Absolutely, Southern Tier Prepper. Absolutely. Read the room. Know what your customers like. Yeah, and that was the last time I went. I mean, that was kind of the appeal of it, wasn't it? Like the charm of the little gift store, and it's got like a country barn, upscaled country barn feel to it. That was kind of the charm of the place. So why would you get rid of a formula that was working for you? There are literally people who go to Cracker Barrel every single week, and there's an after church crowd that like in some places the entire church will go on Sundays after services. Why would you risk messing with your customer base and taking away what they like? It's really, really bad leadership. And that's the part that's interesting to me is like, how are you able to keep your job after a blunder like that? I'm going to talk about this actually at the very end. Bacon, I have some thoughts about this. The bread and circuses thing. That's actually going to be part of my wrap up. Yeah, they did, didn't they? They found out. Yeah, the checkers thing was kind of cool. Did they take that away too? All right, just scroll and see if I missed anything. They did. They've come back halfway. Sassy Gal Prepping. I actually thought about it myself the other day, just because when it went really low, because I'm a swing trader myself, I looked at it and I felt like because of what seemed to be that they were going to double down on this, so I didn't purchase any shares. It seemed to me like too risky, like because if they hadn't reversed this logo, I actually think the Cracker Barrel stock would have fallen even more, and you would have had a lot of boycotts. And despite whether this was woke or not, I really don't get that piece of this, but let's say that the quote unquote woke crowd said, oh, we'll compensate. They weren't going to show up at Cracker Barrel and support you. They weren't, right? So that's what's funny about like when companies try to do this, they think that they like Disney and Marvel is a great Marvel and Star Wars. They're trying to appeal to an audience that's not showing up for your movies. So why do you continue to make that same mistake over and over again instead of going back and appealing to the customer base that's always been there for you, that's always bought your tickets, that's always bought your merchandise, that's been your core base? Why would you risk that? It's bad marketing, right? I don't care about like you want to rebrand your logo. It was ugly, Cracker Barrel. Like, let's not joke around. It was really ugly. But the new one, I mean, the old one was kind of cool. But like, think about your consequences before you do this. That's what I don't get. Like I've read a lot of business books. Every business book would tell you what I'm saying here. Like, know your customer. Even on CNN, which is kind of like a quote unquote woke channel, they were saying you have to know your customers before you do a big bold change. You have to know if it's going to work or not. All right, scrolling. Yeah, some people fail upwards. Government people especially. Yeah. Well, and I would say the same thing for Disney, right? Like, sure, if you are a publicly traded company, you have a responsibility to your shareholders, regardless of whatever thing you're trying to do. Like, okay, it's great to have positive messaging. Okay, that's fine. So let me close that. Star Wars and Marvel, actually, most people don't know this. The comics from Marvel, especially, and Star Wars, there's always been a little bit of political messaging in the content. And I don't have a problem with that. But the political message didn't like get rammed down your throat and supersede the value of a good story and likable characters. That always came first. And when you shift that and you make the messaging more important than a good story and likable characters, you're going to pay the price 10 out of 10 times. You are not going to get what you expected and draw in these new supporters that you thought you were going to draw in. And that's a fact. And that's why people say go woke, go broke. That it just is. It's become basically a law in business at this point. Exactly, Scott Hummer. Marketing research costs money. Why spend money when you can save it and lose big bucks in the market share? Exactly. All right. Cracker Barrel has a significant presence in Florida and Texas. Yeah. Those and those are pretty conservative states, right? Oh, yep, exactly. And I actually think it's okay to experiment a little bit, and it's okay to try new things and push out the boundaries a little bit, but you got to move slow, and you have to really be in touch with the vibe with your core customers, right? What if I suddenly, so I've got 7,200 subscribers right now. What if I suddenly changed my channel to a cooking channel, right? Some of you who maybe tune in because you vibe with my personality, maybe some of you will stay, but I would lose the vast majority of my subscribers. A lot would unsubscribe, and some of them might not, but they're never going to watch my videos again, right? Because you didn't subscribe to me for cooking. Right? I can do it maybe once in a while, and I've done like camp cooking, and I did the video with Mrs. Sarge where she shows you how to make blueberry pie, right? I can do it once in a while, but if that became all of my content, I would lose my core customers, right? You came here for prepping, survival, and a little bit of humor and a little bit of mental health knowledge. That's what I sell. If I want to create something new, I'll create a new channel, right? So I've got my mental health channel so that I can really talk about those things there. And if I ever want to do something else, maybe I am still a Star Wars fan. Maybe I create a Star Wars channel, right? What if I tried to do that here, right? Once in a while, I could do an off-topic thing, but if I start doing it regularly, it is not going to work, folks. That procuring agent was promoted to a position in Texas. Oh, you're talking about the milk thing. Sorry. I think Vanessa, I'm following, but I think I missed something in there. DEI stock buying money. Yeah, I follow that burpee yoga. No, just don't watch anything. Could care less if she vanishes. Okay, just saw it. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up with a couple different side conversations. So we mostly, Mrs. Sarge and I, we mostly eat at home, and I will say I'm blessed because my wife is a chef, so I'm blessed. But it is nice once in a while to go out to eat and have somebody else cook for you and clean up. We do it once in a while as a treat. Yeah. Who else was talking about those cameras? Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival was talking about those cameras. What's going on? What do you guys think's going on with that? Now, I can tell you, we have something similar here on the highways. They can track license plates and things like that. From what I understand, it's mostly used to like Amber Alerts and stuff like that. But the amount of cameras that are suddenly popping up, like, what is there something else going on? What, or is this a grant that states got? So now we're just starting to see it. So Vanessa Kitty, they're these, like, I don't know how to describe them. They're small black cameras. They tend to be on ramps, on ramps and off ramps for highways, and it looks like a small pole with a camera on top. Yeah, Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival did a short on it if you want to go check that out. What are they doing with that data, though? That's the question. Is it looking for car registrations? So here in South Carolina, I know that they're, hey, Austrian Stacker, it's good to see you. I hope you're having a good night. Thanks for joining us. I know they're mostly using it for, like, tracking cars for Amber Alerts and stuff like that. Yeah, I that would probably be something that I could try. I do love doing knife content. In fact, I've got 2 knife reviews that are coming up later this fall. I'm timing them for a very specific thing, but I've got 2 knives that I'm going to be reviewing for you guys soon. Ooh, smoking a brisket, yum, yum. You guys are funny. Some good stuff in chat. If you're watching this on replay, if you can, I know YouTube doesn't always make it available, turn on the chat. You're missing some good stuff. All right. XNYC, it's good to see you, my friend. This is the flock cameras is interesting, y'all. Let's keep an eye on that one. All right, so I think I'm caught up. Going back to my notes. Bear with me here. All right. Sydney Sweeney. Let's talk about Sydney Sweeney and her amazing jeans. Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle's Great Jeans campaign turned into one of 2025's most viral and polarizing marketing moments. Let's look at the numbers and the backlash. The ad launched on July 23rd with the taglines. Sorry. Sorry. Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. I mean, come on, that's great marketing. Come on, right? Critics claimed the pun on jeans versus jeans with a G had racial and eugenics era undertones, especially with the visuals emphasizing Sweeney's blonde hair and blue eyes. Are we not allowed to talk about genetics anymore? Are we that overly sensitive, folks, that we can't talk about that somebody has good genetics? It's not a racial thing. It really isn't, right? Like, because you could just as easily say Halle Berry has great genetics, right? You could easily say Angela Bassett has great genetics, and she does, right? You could say Beyonce or J Lo, Jennifer Lopez, or Ariana Grande, right? The genetics should not be an offensive word. Genes should not be an offensive word. I don't get this. All right. Others praised it as a return to unapologetic sales-driven advertising, calling it anti-woke and refreshingly bold. The campaign went mega viral, over 200 million views across TikTok, Instagram, and X within the first week. Hashtag great jeans. I need to go back and put that in the video. Trended for 3 days straight. Interactive Snapchat filters and 3D Times Square billboards amplified the reach. At first, AE stock dipped. Then came a surprising boost. On August 4th, Donald Trump praised the ad as the hottest out there, and it caused a 23% surge in AE stock price. Shares jumped from 15.80 to 19.45 in one day. Imagine making 23% in one day on a stock trade. Ooh, I like it. Driven by meme stock energy and conservative influencer support. So we were talking about the power of Taylor Swift. How about the power of Donald Trump there? Whoa. Despite the controversy, denim sales skyrocketed. AE's wide leg and cinch waisted jeans sold out in multiple sizes within 72 hours. Analysts estimate the campaign added $40 to $60 million in incremental revenue during the back-to-school session. The campaign is now considered a case study in viral marketing, showing that controversy, when managed, can drive massive engagement and sales. Okay, let me stop there. Let me go back to chat. Here's my question for you, chat. What did American Eagle do right that Cracker Barrel did wrong? All right. I can see it now. Sydney Sweeney is the new face of Cracker Barrel. So there was some memes going around about that she could actually save the brand. That if they wanted to save the brand, they should be hiring Sydney Sweeney. Why not? Why not? Not with that, dude. No, actually the money dried up, but the company running the camera. Oh, you guys are talking about the camera. Sorry. Hey, Modern, it's good to see you. I hope you're having a good Friday. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Austrian Stacker says no rainbow nonsense. A didn't care about woke. Mrs. Sarge and I were talking about this one and like why this did so well despite a little bit of controversy. Mrs. Sarge's take on it was they were marketing to within their base that the base of people who are going to buy American Eagle jeans was not the crowd that was going, let me say it differently. The crowd that was offended by this was not people who are going to buy American Eagle jeans anyways. So it did no harm to them whatsoever. This goes back to what CNN was saying this week of know your audience. Know your audience, and you can make bold moves if it matches with your audience. And this is why I think Nike's thing with Colin Kaepernick worked for them, because that was their audience, right? Like there was Nike has always been kind of working with controversy and diversity, right? That's part of their brand, really. So that wasn't so risky for them to do that, and Nike did really good with that campaign. Whether you like Colin Kaepernick or not, personally, I think what the kneeling thing was really disrespectful. I also understand people's First Amendment rights. We're going to get into that in just a second, but I still found it disrespectful. And I don't think he was ever an NFL quality football player. Sorry. If he was, because people say, oh no, he wasn't picked up because of racism. No. That's not true. Michael Vick got convicted of dogfighting and was allowed to re-enter the NFL. Okay. And Michael Vick, and believe me, people were and still are really fired up about that. But Michael Vick was a very good football player. Not great, very good football player. If Kaepernick had the talent, he would have been recruited, controversy or not. That's the facts, kids. All right. Just see. Oh yeah, I'm not going to get into that one tonight. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But you guys can talk about it in chat. Yeah, the kneeling thing. So we could do a whole stream on that. So let me just say this, because I talked about this the other night on Mike's channel, on the Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival channel. Now, and I will talk about it a little bit more. The American flag, like the flag for any other country, is what we would call a sacred symbol. Okay. There are other things that are a sacred symbol: the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Bhagavad Gita. If I said that wrong, I apologize. There are, these are things that mean a lot to a lot of people. My personal feeling is that when you protest in a way that you're disrespecting somebody else's sacred symbol, I find it really not. It's offensive to people, but it's weak sauce. Like, you couldn't make your point in any other way. You had to be extreme and do something that you knew was going to be offensive to people and was going to potentially incite violence. So I don't have any respect for people who disrespect sacred symbols as a form of protest. I wouldn't do that no matter how much I didn't like another country or if I mean, I don't think like this, but if I didn't like somebody else's religion, I still wouldn't disrespect their book or another country's flag or whatever. I just don't think that. I find that so primitive. Like, articulate why you don't like them. Articulate why it's a problem for you. And if all you can do is something that you know is going to offend everybody else, I just find it really weak sauce. That's my personal opinion. You can disagree. I also will stand by, even though I find it disrespectful and dishonorable and weak sauce, First Amendment protects your right to do that. And that First Amendment is pretty sacred to me too. So I don't like it. I would never do it. But I also believe in the right to do those things, even though it's not right. Okay. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying, and then I'm going to keep going. Michael Vick was misunderstood. I don't know where you're going with that. Yeah, excellent. I know. And when we talked about this, you guys should go watch that Mike's stream on Tuesday night. We had a big discussion about that and kind of hit on all the points on that. If I sit outside in a public space, why do the police arrest you just because you might be homeless sitting on a bench? Well, I guess it depends on how long you're sitting there, what the rules are. Are you loitering? Were you asked to leave that area because it's well, you're talking about public space, so that wouldn't really count there in a public spot. Yeah. Well, and that's what a lot of homeless people here do is they'll go to public spaces, so it's very difficult to have them moved out of there, like the bus station. The airport is another one. Did you guys know that a lot of homeless people will, if it's really cold or rainy, will hang out in the airport because technically it's really hard to remove them. It just is, it just is. It's one of those things that's they're kind of protected to some extent there. Yeah, they were good lives. We had a good time. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for watching those. All right, let me go back here. Yep, and I try not to use that word as well. I just find it weak sauce. It's lazy. Yeah, lazy is a good word for it. When you have to resort to calling somebody a Nazi or whatever, I just like if you can't articulate your point and you have to throw out words to try to incite violence, you're not capable of debating. Like, learn how to do it. Learn how to articulate your point. That's why it's one of the things that we emphasize here is like you can disagree with me, but I ask you to express yourself. Try to articulate. Use your, as Steve Corsair says, use your thinky think. And I've changed my opinion on a lot of things when people have done that. By the way. So that's the thing. If you can actually articulate your point and make a good debate, sometimes you change the other person's mind. It's really important to learn how to do that. All right. We might come back to this one at the end. Obviously, what happened in Minnesota is absolutely horrific. All right. Flag burning real quick. President Trump signed a controversial executive order August 25th, 2025, aimed at cracking down on flag burning. This order does not criminalize flag burning outright. Obviously, this is going to get challenged in the Supreme Court. It instructs the Attorney General to prioritize enforcement of content-neutral laws. Don't ask me to explain that. I'm not sure myself. When flag burning occurs. If somebody in chat wants to take a crack at that, I'll read it again. It instructs the Attorney General to prioritize enforcement of content-neutral laws when flag burning occurs. Oh, okay. I think I know what it means. Instead, go after other crimes like disturbing the peace or property damage. Okay, I think that's what that means. Refers cases to state and local authorities if they violate local laws like open burning restrictions. Pursue litigation to clarify First Amendment exceptions, possibly aiming to visit 1989 Texas versus Johnson ruling. So this one's going to the courts, folks. Non-citizens who burn the flag could face visa revocation, termination of naturalization proceedings. So if they're in process, they could be kicked out of that process. Deportation. Supreme Court has long held that flag burning is a protected speech under the First Amendment. Trump's order attempts to sidestep this by focusing on harm unrelated to the expression, such as inciting riots or committing property crimes. That's kind of what we were talking about over on Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival. It is when you burn the flag, you are attempting to incite violence. Okay, that's how I see it anyways. It's going to be up to a judge and jury to determine if they see it the same way I do. Legal experts say the order is unlikely to survive constitutional scrutiny. I agree with that, but it may be a strategic move to test the limits of free speech with current conservative majority court. All right, my concern here is that this is a slippery slope, folks. If you outlaw flag burning as protected free speech, it opens up the potential precedent to whittle away at more aspects of the First Amendment. Okay, so then what about drawing a picture of the flag burning, right? Does that, talking about the flag burning, does that suddenly become criminal, right? Like, so I think that's another concern of mine, is that the First Amendment is so sacred. The First Amendment and the second and the fourth are the rights from which all other rights depend. We lose those three, we are no longer a republic. That's the facts, folks. So we need to be very, very careful about allowing the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments to be whittled away at. My personal opinion. There was some backlash even among conservatives. A veteran was arrested outside the White House for burning a flag in protest. Executive order is more than a legal maneuver. It's a symbolic flashpoint in America's culture wars. All right, we got, I think, two more big topics. So I'm gonna keep rolling here. I will come back to chat in just a second. Okay, so let's go to the Venezuela situation. This is important, and the news is barely covering this, folks. You need to stay in tune, stay up to date on this one. U.S. has deployed a major naval force off the coast of Venezuela, sparking intense speculation about its purpose and raising tensions across Latin America. We have sent, this is no small fleet, guys. We've spent 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, 3 amphibious assault ships, a guided missile cruiser, a nuclear-powered submarine, 4,500 U.S. service members, including 2,200 Marines. The Trump administration claims the deployment is part of counter-narcotics mission targeting the Cartel de las Soles, which Trump's administration alleges is run by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The U.S. has doubled its bounty for Maduro's capture to $50 million, accusing him of narco-terrorism. Are we laying groundwork for regime change? That's a question. Are we about to step into another war? I guess that's another question. Venezuela has mobilized warships, drones, and 15,000 troops along its coastline, and President Maduro has asked citizens to form into militias to defend the sacred soil of Venezuela. It's weird that this isn't getting much coverage in the news, guys. This is really weird. All right, last story, then I'm going to go back to chat, and then we'll start to wrap it up. India is facing a sweeping 50% tariff on exports of to the U.S. as of August 2025, triggered by President Trump's response to India's continued purchase of Russian oil. We did warn them. While this move is shaking up multiple sectors, textiles, gems, furniture, and more, the pharmaceutical industry is currently exempt from these tariffs, but that exemption may not last. Really important. Pay attention, preppers. This one's for us. Why India pharmaceuticals matter to the United States. India supplies 47% of generic prescriptions to the United States. That's a huge chunk of medications that are coming into the United States. Imagine if people can't get their heart medicine, their cholesterol medicine, their blood pressure medicine, their asthma medicine, their seizure medicine. We got problems. This is a national security issue that multiple presidents, multiple administrations have just turned a blind eye to. And one of these days, it's going to bite us in the butt. In 2024, Indian pharmaceutical exports to the United States totaled $10.5 billion. Indian generics are critical for treating chronic conditions like hypertension, diabetes. I left diabetes off. Sorry about that. Trump has hinted at pharma-specific tariffs that could reach 250% over the next 18 months. What this means is that generics could be harder to get. Prices could go up. Supply chains could be drastically reduced. So if people who typically get generics can't get generics and they get name brands, the people who get the name brands, there's going to be less of a supply to go around. You understand? All right. We need to return pharmaceutical factories to the United States. I will die on that hill. This is a huge national security concern, and it never should have been allowed to happen, right? Like, this is just one of those things that we should have never allowed to downsize and export more than maybe, say, 10%. Somebody's got to fix this problem. Maybe Trump can do it. I don't know. Right now, medications are safe, okay? But here's what you need to know is if the pharma specific tariffs kick in, expect higher prices, fewer generics, longer wait times for critical drugs. Okay, how do you prepare for this? Well, I think you already know the answer to this. Just like we've been telling you for the last 5 years on this channel, you need to build up supply of medications. You can do that by saving a little, filling your prescriptions a little bit early each month. Most medications you can do that, not all. And asking your doctor to prescribe a little bit more and using companies like Jace Medical. Jace Medical is doing a Labor Day sale this weekend. They don't have every medication, but they have a lot of them. Use my link, use my discount code in the description down below. Get ahead of this if you are on critical medicines for like seizures, diabetes, blood pressure, heart medicine, cholesterol. If you have a medicine that you have to take daily, you have to get ahead of this. You have to get ahead of this and be prepared for this. So I've given you some options there. Get on it, right? Like I don't know how to be more serious about this. All right, let's check your chat one more time. Then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up. No, so Vanessa Kitty, if you have a ticket, you can get to the gates. Once you get to the gates, it's very hard to get people to leave if they refuse. It's not impossible, but it gets a little bit legally complicated. As far as like the publicly accessible area where and I'm saying if they're not misbehaving, right? Like they're just sleeping on a bench, they're going in the bathroom and washing up, they're buying stuff occasionally from the food court, they're not breaking any laws, they're not being disruptive. It's very hard to get somebody removed if they're basically staying within those bounds. It's not impossible, but it gets legally tricky. Now, the public area where like baggage claim is and stuff like that, that's even more legally tricky, right? You know, to get somebody removed from there if they're not being disruptive. Yes, that's true. Well, I mean, just telling you what goes on locally. If other airports have solved that problem, good on them. Telling you what goes on locally. Most people think with their emotions rather than their brains. Yes, that's true. Yep. Yeah, you used to, isn't that? If I remember correctly, prior to that, you could go back to the gates with a loved one, right, to see them off, and then that changed everything. That's probably true. Sassy Gal Prepping. They're probably looking to target that specific group right now. Vanessa Kitty says it's your flag. Do what you want with it. Voting is important. I agree. Oh yeah, if you burn somebody else's flag, that's a crime for sure. There's no questions of it. That was never protected by First Amendment. If you burn somebody else's flag, for sure. And that is true as well. But it's done when we learned this in the Boy Scouts, of course. One of the ways that you can retire a flag that's old is to burn it. But there's a way that you're supposed to do that. The Field of Blue it's supposed to be a solemn ceremony, not a disrespectful ceremony. And the Field of Blue, I believe, goes in first, and then you fold it into the fire. Yeah, that's absolutely. Y'all are right. You're all right. Yep. When was your mine was in the early 70s. I went to a couple probably late 70s and 80s. Usually was like at a Boy Scout event where they would collect them from anybody who had in the community who had a flag to retire, and it would be done in a very solemn ceremony. Vanessa Kitty's going hunting in Venezuela. Yes, that's true as well. Because there's some countries are concerned about if they do this wrong, the fines and penalties that they could get. So there is some mail that is being held. I believe mostly from Europe right now that can't get into the United States because of that. Yeah, not just antibiotics. They make a ton of medicine for us. I mean, I don't agree with that. That's probably another rabbit hole we could go down another day, though. Would your prescriptions cost each month if you have no insurance? A lot of money. But here's what's interesting, Vanessa Kitty, is that other countries who are getting the exact same medicines as us don't pay as much. So the United States develops most medicines for the world. Most modern medicines are developed by the United States in companies like Pfizer, AbbVie, Johnson and Johnson, Moderna. There's tons of them. There's tons of companies like that. We develop them, and other countries pay less for them, and we have to pay more. There's something really screwy about our healthcare industry. Like our healthcare industry is something that needs major reform. I don't know that Trump's going to tackle that in the next 3.5 years, but somebody needs to address that at some point. Yeah, and there's also with the FDA, that's another rabbit hole we can go down, like that the background of some of the people who are high ranks in the FDA. I have concerns about that. So, yep. Oh, you want to see people riot and hit the streets? Take away the Ozempic. You watch how fast the people start burning things down. Yes, it's true. But check out what options you have available through Jace Medical. If you go to their website and you search around on there, they have a list of all the medicines they do. It's not complete. It's not all medicines, but it's a pretty big list. Folks, do what you can. Like, fill your medicines a few days early if you can. Stockpile a few extra, little by little. So if you fill just as an example, if you had a medicine that you fill 3 days early, if you're able to do that. And again, I know not all medicines they won't always let you do that. But if you can fill your medicine 3 days early, you've got 3 extra pills, right? We'll just kind of round this math up a little bit. Well, after 10 months, you got another month supply. That's better than where you were. After 2 years, you've got a 2.5 month supply or whatever, right? Like, so it's something, right? So let's say that we had a disruption to the supply chain. Maybe it's done within a month. So maybe that emergency supply gets you through. Ooh, show and tell. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you've got good insurance. Oof. Wow. Yeah, the costs are ridiculous, folks. No, and to be clear, I'm not saying we need to get rid of insurance companies. I'm saying it needs reform. I'm saying it needs to be. So we need to fix it. It's broken, and we need to fix it. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. But I don't know that I agree with arresting somebody who didn't feel the same as me. And again, the bigger thing I think is I'm worried about the First Amendment and what happens if we start chipping away at that. Thanks, Bacon. Appreciate that. Vanessa Kitty says some of those drug makers overseas are extreme health hazard. Yeah, so that's a good question. Does the FDA go over to these countries? Do you know the answer to this? Anybody? Does the FDA go over to these factories overseas and inspect them and see if they live up to the same standards that we have in the United States? If you know the answer to that, let me know in chat. I hope so, Sassy. I hope so. Savage air guns. I mean, I'm not going to take it either. I have concerns about it long term, but it's probably it's getting up there to be probably the most popular drug in the country right now. All right, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Okay, Savage says even Mexico has flag burning laws, let alone tons of others. Okay, so Vanessa Kitty. Yep, stretching the meds to last a little longer. Again, just be careful if you're like skipping doses and stuff like that. Talk to your doctor. Some medications, it's really not good to skip doses, so I don't advocate for that here. If you're doing that or you have to do that for money or something like that, please talk to your doctor and see, like, know what your risks are and if there's any other alternatives, like can they get you some samples or discounts or something. All right, so Vanessa Kitty says FDA inspects them, but did he once actually just gloss over the problems again and again? Okay. All right, folks. Thank you. Great chat. Let me go ahead and wind this one down. First, I have two thoughts. First of all, you all know where I live. My city has had its share of tragedies, including mass shootings. And without going into specifics, I've worked with people who've been victimized by big tragedies, and I assure you that thoughts and prayers matter because I've been told that the thoughts and prayers gave them quite a bit of comfort. Okay. Now I get the message that people want more than thoughts and prayers. I get that. But there is also another group that is using this as an opportunity to mock people of faith. Remember what the Bible tells us about when you're mocked for your faith. Okay. Don't worry about them. Continue to do what you do. And I assure you that because I've worked with people who've been victims of horrible tragedies, I assure you your thoughts and prayers do matter. Does it change the past? Does it prevent the next one? I don't know that it prevents anything, and it definitely doesn't change the past, but it does bring comfort to some people. Okay. So don't ever feel bad about offering your thoughts and prayers to people. And again, I understand the message of that people want more, they want solutions. But that's not who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to the people who are mocking people for their faith and the people who are now feeling bad about their faith. Just ignore them. Their opinion doesn't even matter. Okay. You do your thing and continue to pray for people that have been victimized by tragedy. Okay. And yeah, we do want other solutions as well. I don't know what those are. If I did, I would tell you what my thoughts were. Okay. We can do another stream talking about the mental health aspect of this maybe sometime. Because that is a piece of this. It absolutely is a piece of this. All right, so that's that. And then I wanted to say my last little piece here is it okay to be distracted by bread and circuses? And I'm going to say it is. I think we all have to unplug a little bit once in a while. I have my ways that I do so. When I'm done with my stream, I'm actually probably going to go play some hockey on my Xbox. I like to watch, like brain rot television. I don't know if you would say South Park's actually kind of intellectual if you can get past the crude humor, which some people can't. There's actually a lot intellectually going on there. But I like South Park. I like Beavis and Butthead, which actually is a little bit more crude and less intellectual, but it's funny. It's okay to have escape. we all have to unplug from this crazy matrix sometimes. It's a crazy, crazy world, and there's a lot of bad things that go on, and you have to have a way to escape from it. What's not okay is to get so absorbed by things that are going on in pop culture that we aren't paying attention to other more important, bigger things that are going on in the world. Okay. So yes, bread and circuses are there for a reason. I don't personally find that it's a problem if you need to unplug a little bit and distract and read some fluff romance novels or play video games or, pickleball, whatever your thing is. I think it's okay. Just stay connected with what's going on and do what we can to make this world a little bit better for each other. Do what you can to prep for your family. Do what you can to look out for the little kids and the pets and the animals and the babies and all that kind of stuff. Bring a little bit of good into this world that has so much darkness that we're constantly fighting against. Okay. So that's my positive message for tonight. I will go back and read your comments here, but I do need to sign off. It's been, how long has it been? We've been going for over an hour. This is a long one. Thank you so much for everybody for staying with me tonight. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for sharing part of your Friday with me. If you haven't already done so, please consider giving me a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.